Hello and welcome to our first 2024 edition of Observation Conversations. My name is Jonathan, and I'm joined, as always, by my evergreen co-host, Reid. How are you doing?
Feeling better now that you called me evergreen. What a compliment.
Well, I thought you might need it. I thought you might appreciate it because, you might be feeling like a little bit of an old soul these days because we are in this magical corridor of time, this magical week and a half in February when you are definitively a year older than I am. So
yes,
and that is because you had a birthday a few days ago. So happy birthday!
Thank you very much, and
happy
very soon birthday to you.
Yes, it is coming up in just 10 days from when we're recording this. So, how is the view from 24, my friend?
Bleak.
all my fears confirmed, all my suspicions confirmed.
It's weird because every time I've gone through a birthday, I've always said like, oh, I don't feel any different. It's like, one day to the next, there's no change. I mean, you're only a day older. But now, to be able to say that I'm no longer in my early 20s, but now my mid 20s.
Oh, God. Don't even start.
Being 24, 25, 26.
Oh, God.
Now that I'm 24, it feels different. And it feels kind of weird. I feel like more of an adult. Like I can no longer be treated like a kid anymore under like any circumstance. Like early 20s, yeah, they could. I mean, they're legally adults, but they're still young kids. But like mid 20s, you gotta have your shit figured out by then. So that's what's coming for you in 10 days, my friend.
Yeah, talk about literally the very last thing you wanted to hear about what's imminently in your future. I mean, that's the last thing you want to hear is now you've exited your early 20s and now you're in the mid 20s. Mathematically it may be true, but it's not always how one feels, is it?
Yeah.
But
it's how this one feels.
I'm sure, and that's what causes me to have such a sinking sense of dread about it.
Yeah, to think I only have a year left before my brain stops developing, so like I have to learn as much as I can in the next year before this thing turns into a brick.
Yeah, it's all plateau.
I think that's how that works.
Yeah, it's all plateau after that. You do not learn anything else after that.
No, never.
I think that's scientifically
just
proven.
all of your neurons just kind of lock in, and
exactly.
It's just your base knowledge for the rest of your life. That's why old people struggle with technology, because they literally can't learn new skills.
Absolutely.
This is a joke, just in case anyone else is listening right now and is getting it. This is a joke. I'm joking.
But
if my parents are watching this is a joke.
Well, first of all, if your parents are watching this, thank you for watching. We definitely need
those.
Those loyal listeners and those loyal viewers. We always appreciate it. No matter where they come from. So, but yeah, I mean, it is a big one. It is a big one, and so, I'm just 10 days yet to go, and yeah, I'm clinging on to 23 for dear life. It was basically my readout of it. 2024 is, and being 24 in 2024 is, it's, obviously represents momentous changes. It makes it easy to keep
track, I will say.
It does. I mean,
I love being born in the year 2000 and
being
not having to do any math to figure out my age.
Yeah, being a millennium kid is awesome, honestly. I entirely understand why so many people who were born in just before in the late 90s or just after in the early 2000s are so jealous of us because, that's, because you have to do that mental calculation, and nobody wants to do that, but, we have it so easy, we just know what year it is. So unless you're in the plot of a Back to the Future movie, you should be okay. And so, but yeah, no, it does represent momentous changes for us, and for so many people in our age group. Did you at least have a nice birthday? Did you do anything special? It kind of fell in the middle of the week. I did have a nice birthday. So.
Yeah, so it was a Wednesday. A kind of awkward timing. So, we had a nice birthday lunch. My sister came home and we celebrated with the family, and then at like 4:20, I had to get on a train and head to the city for class.
Oh, wow.
which is from 6:20 to 9.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't really do like a proper birthday dinner. Instead, I
Sure.
had food waiting for me when I got home at 10:30.
Oh, wow.
So kind of awkward timing, but when I got home, we did, have dessert and do gifts and kind of do the more traditional celebration. It was nice. It was a good time.
That's,
I always prefer those like smaller, more intimate get-togethers, but
yeah.
it's a good time.
Yeah, no, I found that as well. As you kind of exit your teens and you enter your 20s, you do, at least this is my experience, and it sounds like we kind of have the same experience of it, which is you do really start to appreciate a lot more the simplicity of just small gatherings, small get-togethers, the quiet moments. I mean, obviously the big bombastic stuff is always nice. If you're having a big party, that can be a lot of fun, obviously. But you're so much more cognizant of the expense that goes into that and the effort that goes into making that happen. Where honestly, it's just like order something from your favorite restaurant, put on a movie you like, and that's just as good as anything else. Because at least in that event, you're not thinking so much about what you're losing in having that nice moment as opposed to what you're because obviously if money were no object and if you had all the time in the world, then yeah, you'd plan a whole big thing. But at least that way you can kind of keep it a self-contained thing and just kind of focus on what's actually important, which is reflecting and being excited about surviving another year effectively.
Yeah.
So yeah, having those simple plans, there really is a beauty in that. And especially if your birthday happens to fall in the middle of a week, I think that's probably the best you can do. Because chances are, even if you did want to do a big thing, that none of your friends would be available anyway. So there really is.
Again, I wasn't available for my own birthday.
I know, right?
I had to go to class.
Isn't that fucked up? How that works? How that happens? So yeah. Well, I'm very glad to hear it. I'm very glad to hear it. And yeah, I'm right behind you. But yeah. But for now, we're in that glorious week and a half where I can officially call you an old fuck, and whereas I'm still I'm still a
when I was
spry
your
young
age,
man.
I wasn't this damn disrespectful.
Yeah,
Jeez,
no,
you need to respect your elders.
Yeah, well, you are an elder now, so and that's the line I'm running with.
Yeah, I'm
until
your
until stated
senior
otherwise.
senior citizen.
Exactly.
I can feel the gray already coming
Yeah,
in.
I need you to be my spirit guide into the AARP world because that's what's happening now. Uh, uh, as I'm about to, as I'm about
That
to
one hurt.
join you in the bleak abyss of being in one's mid-20s. But yes, February, it's always an exciting month for us because we have, of course, our birthdays as kind of the headlining event, but also the Super Bowl, which is this weekend. We're recording this just heading into Super Bowl weekend, the Friday before. Yeah, I just in general, I'm a winter guy. Do you find that you're also a winter person? I've always enjoyed winter.
I'm definitely a winter person.
Yeah.
I will say recently, the seasonal depression has been hitting pretty hard.
Mm.
Normally, that's not necessarily the case. But just in terms of weather, much prefer the cold. Because if you're cold, you can always layer on more jackets. But if you're hot, once you're naked, if you're still hot, you're just fucked.
Exactly.
And I sleep better in the colds. I think the atmosphere is nicer. I love when it snows. It's so beautiful. Yeah, winter guy all the way.
Yeah, I mean, ditto all of that. I find myself just a lot more comfortable in cooler temperatures. And to be fair, what's cold for you is very different from the cold that I've known for the past better part of a decade.
Also a good point, yes.
Living in California and Florida, California.
Your winter is what, 60s, 70s?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. Yeah, so here's what I would say. In California, the weather is pretty consistent year round. I mean, it does get a bit cooler in the winter, but you're reliably staying in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, throughout the year. There's not much variance outside of that. You'll have maybe in the dog days of summer where it might get into the 90s, and then maybe in December, January, it might dip into the 50s. But you practically never see it going down into the 40s in the daytime. It doesn't happen. So in that case, there's not really a lot of delineation, and the weather is always the same too. It's always sunny. Rain is a rare event. So, and so there really isn't a lot of delineation between seasons, over there, which is fine because obviously people love the sunshine, they love the temperate weather, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. It is a luxury that you do get used to very quickly, and you forget how abnormal it is compared to living in other places in this country. But I would say here in Florida, I really have redeveloped that appreciation for winter because, during the summer, it's hot, it's muggy, it's humid, it rains every single day. And I don't even mind the rain that much. I actually kind of like the rain, but it's hell to drive in. Nobody likes driving in the rain. Yep. It just makes everything, anything having to do with going outside a hassle. And so, that's kind of what you expect from Florida in the summertime. Humid, hot, rains a lot, all that jazz. But in the winter, total opposite story. It is gorgeous in the winter down here. So in South Florida, it doesn't really get below the 60s typically in the winter. But here in Orlando, I love it because in January, like December, January, we regularly dip down into the 50s. And that's, I think that I would say high 50s, low 60s. That's, I describe it this way. It's cold enough to be called brisk. It's cold enough to keep you awake, but not so cold that you can't still wear a short sleeve shirt. You know?
It's like t-shirt with a jacket.
Exactly.
It's like that's kind of perfect.
Or like a light sweater, that kind of thing. And so I love that, and so being up here in Orlando, it really has it's still not anywhere close to a proper Northeast winter, but it does at least remind me a bit more of that, which I genuinely do appreciate. It kind of reminds me of home a bit. And so, but yeah, all the rest of the time, it's beautiful. 60s, 70s, very little rain. It's just gorgeous down here in the
must
winter.
Be nice.
I'm telling you,
nice.
It's gorgeous down here in the winter. So I really have rekindled my love of the season in the years that I've been down here. It's just doing everything is so much more pleasant in the winter than in the summer. So
it's funny though that you mentioned California doesn't get much rain because over the past week or so they have been dealing with, I guess it's a full hurricane.
Yeah, well, actually, they did have a hurricane a few months back. They had Hurricane Hillary that passed through,
and now it's just like a bunch of rain recently.
Yeah, torrential downpour. Yeah, I've been hearing quite a bit about it from buddies of mine who live in California, and yeah, it's been raining nonstop for the past few days.
Yeah,
is what they tell me. So
I found it funny because I saw this video recently where this guy pretending to live in California. It's like, guys, we're really struggling out there because it's raining and it's all wet and I can't drive and I can't walk and everything's shut down. Guys, we're having such a hard time. And I was just dying because apparently a lot of Californians are like that, where we have snow days, they have rain days. They'll just shut down everything.
I've experienced it myself. To see how Californians react when it starts raining, you would think that it was an alien invasion or something.
It's like how Texans react to snow.
Exactly. It causes them to short circuit. Even though they've seen rain before, like at least with Texans and snow, it's like snow is so rare that there are a lot of Texans who've just genuinely never experienced it living.
Yeah, they're not equipped. They don't have like the salt ready to douse the roads and things like that.
But it does rain in California occasionally. But even when it does, it causes a total short circuit in the brains of Californians. It's like they don't know how to process it.
Where'd the sun go? My California sun.
Literally, it kicks off like a panic, I swear to God. And so I've experienced it myself, and obviously growing up in the Northeast, I was totally unfazed. I was like, what the fuck are you people all so worked up about? Yeah. But yeah, I've experienced it myself. It is a completely different just kind of attitude towards any kind of abnormal weather event over there. Because they're just not used to it. Like literally they'll have like 5.6 earthquakes and nobody will bat an eye. It's fine. Literally. Yeah,
like for us, if we had an earthquake,
it'd be a huge event.
That would be really disturbing because at least I'm nowhere near a fault line.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I'd be freaking the fuck out.
Literally, like they have earthquakes. I've observed this too. They have earthquakes and they shrug it off like it's nothing. It was a bit. Like they wake up and it's a bit cloudy this morning. Like that. That's the level of attention they pay to it. But a little bit of rain, an inch or two of rain, and all hell breaks loose. So yeah, it is quite something to see. But yeah, so anyway, February, big month for us. A lot of things we like about February. And so we thought, in this...
Also, wait, there is something special about this February in particular, too.
Oh?
That we haven't mentioned.
Do tell.
It's a leap year this year.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, we got a February 29th.
There it is. So,
once every 4 years, so it's extra special this year.
Yeah, a little bit more February.
Yeah.
And so we thought in this first edition of what we're calling Observation Conversations off season, because we have our on season where we're able to make episodes a little bit more regularly over the summer around holiday breaks. But we also wanted to try to be a little bit more consistent throughout the year, and so we're calling this the off season. When we're either at school or at work or doing whatever we're doing, and basically it's just going to be we'll make an episode whenever we can.
Yep.
We're going to try to make one a month.
When we feel like it.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to try to do one a month just to have that at least as a bedrock. But yeah, the point is in the off season, no promises.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best. And so really, this episode is trying to encompass everything that's going on in this month. And so we talked a bit about our birthdays, and I thought, let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, because that's just a couple days away now, 2 days away. And I guess I just wanted to start with this. So this Super Bowl is, as I'm sure you're aware, Chiefs 49ers. Or I believe the Niners are the home team. I think, yes. So yeah, it is Chiefs 49ers. Of course, every year the designated home team for the Super Bowl alternates between the AFC and the NFC. And so, they'll have one conference wearing away jerseys and one conference wearing their home jerseys, even though obviously it's played in a neutral site. This year, for the first time in Las Vegas, very exciting, the Super Bowl goes to Sin City. And so I guess my question, I wanted to ask you this first, since you're kind of a mid-level football fan. You pay attention to a bit of it, but you're not super dialed in.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for this game? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm looking forward to it for a very stupid reason. And it has to do entirely with our latest fantasy football season. And more specifically, my draft picks. Because when we were drafting at the beginning of the season, I went 49ers as my defense. And I think it was like my third or fourth pick.
Your second round pick.
Oh, it was my second round pick. Okay, so much worse. Yeah, I got a ton of shit for it. I got so much shit. But they have played so well and so reliably. And they scored me a ton of points as my defensive team. So, I'm rooting for them to take it all the way, just so I can say, hey, this was a good pick and you fucking know it.
In the end, yeah, it all pays off in the end.
Not that I'm in the finals of the draft. I've been out for a while, but
sure.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Is I want the 49ers to dominate, so I can say I told you so.
There it is. So,
and that's it.
A certified Niners fan for this weekend.
Yes.
And so is that also?
I've never paid attention to that team before, but for this season specifically. Sure. Niners.
And that's also your prediction. You're predicting a Niners victory, a big Niners victory on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely.
Gotcha.
It's gonna be fucking 700-0.
Wow, that would be awesome. That would be really remarkable. Okay, interesting, very interesting. I have to say that, first of all, to state the obvious, to kind of give voice to the opinion of, I think, most NFL fans, at least most that I've seen rattling around the Twitterverse, this is not the Super Bowl that most of us wanted going into the conference championships 2 weeks ago. In the conference championships, you had the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Lions and the Niners. And, of course, we just saw the Chiefs win the Super Bowl last year. So we know what they are. There's no surprises if they make it there again. But the Ravens haven't been back since the 2012 season when Joe Flacco won his Super Bowl MVP. It's still incredible to think about Super Bowl MVP and the Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh versus John Harbaugh, Ravens versus Niners. And they had a phenomenal season this year. Lamar Jackson just won the NFL MVP. He had a phenomenal year. That offense, despite having some big, injuries, to key players, they were phenomenal. I think the best we've seen in recent years. And that defense was number one scoring defense in the whole league. They had such a fantastic season. And the Ravens, their whole thing is predicated on the success of their ground game. Nobody is as athletic as Lamar Jackson is. He can run with the best of them. He is the best of them when it comes to being a running quarterback, on top of really improving his passing game. And so he's now a true double threat. And their key to success is running the ball and just kind of all the kind of play action and trick plays that go along with that. And for whatever reason in the conference championship, they just decided to abandon their run game and abandon all of those little tips and tricks that got them there in the first place. And the Chiefs just went in there and cut them up. Despite being the Ravens were pretty decently heavily favored, and the Chiefs just cut them up. You see, you have to understand about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs is that being called underdogs is their superpower. The moment you underestimate them, or you think of them as being an underdog, that just makes them more powerful.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, I think he has a perfect record against the spread, which if you're not familiar with what that means,
I am not.
Basically, it's a betting line. So what you'll see is if you have, let's use this game for example. If you have Chiefs Ravens, the betting line will be Ravens -3.5, which means the Ravens are favored by 3.5 points. And so you place a bet. I believe that the Ravens will either score, win and score more than 3.5 points, or that's betting the over or betting the under. I bet that either the Ravens will lose by less than 3.5 points or the Chiefs will win.
Yeah.
And so that's how that works. And so every time Patrick Mahomes has come into a game as an underdog against the spread where the other team is favored, he's won. And in the playoffs, he's been almost flawless. And so, I have no idea what the Ravens' game plan was there, but that's how they blew up their chances of making it to the Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes books his fourth ticket to the Super Bowl in 6 years as a starter, which is crazy if you think about it. Patrick Mahomes has been a starter for only 6 years in the NFL. He's only 28, and he's already been to 4 Super Bowls now, and he's won 2.
That's ridiculous.
Or actually, do I have that right? 1, 2. Yeah, this is his 4th. He's been to 3 and he's won 2 already. He's only 28. And the crazy thing is that if it weren't for Tom Brady, who beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game in 2019, and then who beat him again in the Super Bowl as quarterback of the Bucs in 2021, he could have 4 rings already. Tom Brady is the only reason why Patrick Mahomes doesn't have 4 rings as it is. But he's already got 2, Mahomes does, and he's looking for a 3rd. And I think getting a 3rd ring will cement what we already know to be true, which is we are in the midst of a new dynasty, a Chiefs dynasty. For 20 years, the whole NFL world suffered under the oppressive weight of the Patriots dynasty, and now it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss, where we have a Tom Brady currently is the GOAT, no doubt about that. But if Patrick Mahomes keeps up like this, he will catch up to Brady in rings. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So, it's I think that these Chiefs are a lot more likable than those Patriots teams tended to be. I think Andy Reid is a much more likable coach than Bill Belichick is generally, and I think that the Chiefs have a lot more fun than the Patriots did when they were on their, when they were in the height of their dynasty. But yeah, we've seen the Chiefs a lot.
Everyone just loves a younger athlete too.
Oh, of course. Patrick Mahomes, he's incredible. As a superstar athlete, he is fantastic. He's great for the league. He's great for the health of the sport. What he is doing is incredible. I don't want to take anything away from the guy. He has earned everything he's gotten. That he is unbelievably good. Really. It's to the point where it goes beyond generational talent. He is, again, he's only 28. And he's already, if he wins on Sunday, he will already be in contention for that GOAT conversation. So, yeah, it's incredible. And so I think that many of us, myself included, really wanted to see Baltimore make it to the Super Bowl. But they blew it once again. And so the Chiefs are back in. And for the NFC, this is very interesting. The 49ers were the number 1 seed. So everyone, we knew going in they were going to be great. They have an incredible amount of talent on that roster. Everyone, I think, understood that this is a team that wants to make it to the Super Bowl, right now. They're all in. They came very close last year, made it to the conference championship game, but they lost to the Eagles. This time, they're making an all-in push. But they were going up against the Detroit Lions, which all of America wanted to see the Lions make it, because you have to understand is that the Lions are one of only 4 teams in the NFL, I believe, that still have not yet won a Super Bowl. Yeah. And I think they're the only one, or one of the only ones, that have never even been to a Super Bowl before. They have been so bad for so long. Lions fans have been in such hell for so long.
I specifically remember seeing that game, whereas the Lions versus the Niners, and I was like, oh, I should probably text Greg that his favorite team is losing.
Yeah, our friend Greg, he's a longtime Lions fan, and so he was all in, and so the Lions, they won the wild card. They beat the Rams, who are a very solid team who just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They beat the red hot, a lot of momentum Buccaneers, once again at home, to advance past the divisional into the conference championship. And we were all hoping, this team feels like a team of destiny. Let's hope that the Lions can make it to their first ever Super Bowl, and who knows, maybe even win it. And they had a fantastic lead at halftime. I think it was 28-7 at halftime. Yeah. Just total domination across the board. And bit by bit, it got chipped away in the second half. The Niners, they tend to be a slow starting team. They tend to really pick up in the second quarter, third quarter, then they're full speed by the fourth quarter. But if the Lions could have just held on, then they could have at least tried to force overtime. But, Dan Campbell is famously, or perhaps infamously, very aggressive. On fourth down, he wants to go for it. And he made a fateful decision in the fourth quarter to not kick a field goal and go for it, and it didn't pan out. And it turns out that ultimately the Niners won 34-31. So those 3 points could have forced overtime. And who knows, maybe we would be seeing a Lions-Chiefs championship now. But that would
be a good matchup.
Yeah, it would have been a great matchup. But as the old saying goes, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and that's what happened to the Lions. And so hopefully they can make it back next year. But it's always so much harder to come back and make a deep run again next year, because this year the Lions, I think they took a lot of people by surprise. A lot of people didn't anticipate just how good the Lions would be this year. And it's so much harder to sneak up on the league again when everyone knows what you're truly capable of. No one underestimates you when they've seen that. And so, we hope that they can do it again next year, but it's so much harder the second time around than, a time like this when you just take the league by storm and you're on fire.
Yeah.
And so anyway, all this is to say that we got the most predictable Super Bowl, the Super Bowl that nobody really wanted outside of Missouri, Kansas, or California, which is a rematch of the Super Bowl that we had just 4 years ago in 2020. And first of all, I just want to say, hopefully this Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl doesn't result in another global, pandemic like the last one did. Let's hope that that's not in the offing again.
If that did happen, what a weird correlation that would
be. Well then we definitely can't let it happen a third time. There's definitely no way that we can allow these two teams to meet again. But yes, and so of course the Chiefs won that original Super Bowl matchup, Patrick Mahomes' first ring. And listen, and because of the teams involved, and because it's so predictable, I'm once again kind of dispassionate about it. I feel like if the Ravens were in, I could easily root for the Ravens. If the Lions were in, I could easily root for the Lions. But Chiefs, Niners, you've got the big bully of the AFC and the big bully of the NFC. It's like, there's not many heroes here unless you're a fan of one of those teams. And so it'll be a very good game. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic playmakers on both sides. It'll be the Taylor Swift Super Bowl, of course, with the Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce connection, which I'm sure the network will love. I'm sure CBS will love that.
Although she's not doing the halftime show.
No, it's Usher.
That would be
doing the
really
halftime
cool
show.
if she was.
Yeah, well, honestly, who knows? Maybe, within the next couple of years we could see that. I do not think it's impossible to imagine. I'm sure the NFL wants her. I'm sure they would love to have her. But yeah, it'll be a great game, I'm sure. But yeah, just there's not a lot of X factors here to get super excited about. We really know what we're getting with both teams, for the most part. And so for that reason, I think that it'll be very interesting to see. But from where I'm sitting, I don't see much reason why it shouldn't be a different result this time than it was the first time. And once again, the Niners come into this game as slight favorites, which means the Chiefs are underdogs. Remember what I just told you about the Chiefs being underdogs. And, it should be said that, Travis Kelce, he wins a ring. I could think of, maybe a finger he wants to plant that ring on. That's all I'm saying,
Well, let's just hope this underdog's name is Old Yeller.
And so, I think it'll be very interesting to see. It'll be a great matchup. Don't get me wrong. Brock Purdy, the 49ers quarterback, I think he's been phenomenal. He was Mr. Irrelevant just last year, and coming out of the 2022 draft. And already he's in the Super Bowl, and he came this close to being in the Super Bowl last year as well. He has been phenomenal. Christian McCaffrey, the guy is just, as running backs go, this guy is just the Hulk. Honestly, he seems nigh unstoppable often, at many points.
Do you have any MVP predictions?
Oh, gosh. The favorite is always going to be the quarterback of the winning team. So since I've predicted the Chiefs, I'm going to predict Patrick Mahomes wins another Super Bowl MVP. It would have to be a very low scoring affair to have it be anybody else, I feel like. Yeah. And I feel like that at the very least, this will be a good game. I think we will definitely see points in this game. And so I do think that I am predicting the Chiefs to win, and as such, I will predict Patrick Mahomes will be the MVP. But who do you think? Who do you like for MVP?
I don't know enough players to really make that call. But I think you're right. You do make a really good case for Pat Mahomes, given that every time they're the underdog, they seem to pull through. But you're predicting the Chiefs to win.
Yes.
I'm hoping the 49ers to win. I'm wondering, do we put in some kind of wager?
We could.
For the two of us.
We could. What are you thinking?
I have no idea.
Yeah, we could bet something. I just don't know what.
Winner gets to roast the loser on the next episode.
Okay. I'll agree to that, sure. Well, it's a deal.
Cool.
And so, yeah, as far as who I'm rooting for, again, I think that I'm fine either way. Like I said, I'm very dispassionate about it, but
yeah, me too.
I feel like, at least if the Chiefs win, we know exactly where we stand. We are in the midst of a new dynasty. We're in the midst of the Chiefs dynasty. And, and it'll be very impressive because I feel like this year, even after they won the Super Bowl last year, so many people, myself included, I'll be honest, were very quick to bury the Chiefs. We said that they're as weak as we've seen them in the Mahomes era. And in every single game, well, except for their wild card game, they were favorites against Miami, but they were underdogs against the Bills and they were underdogs against the Ravens. And they, as you said, in the postseason, they're just a different team. They buckle up, they lock down, and they can look nigh invincible in the postseason. In the regular season this year, they were a bit wobbly, but they button down, they buckle up, and they get shit done in the postseason. So, yeah, I'm gonna predict a repeat of what we saw just 4 years ago. Yeah, it'll be another Pat Mahomes, it'll be another ring and another Lombardi for his Royal Highness King Mahomes the First. So there it is. We also wanted to talk a little about the Super Bowl more broadly. And I was thinking, why don't we had a lot of fun with doing tier lists last year. And so what if we did a tier list for some of the classic Super Bowl foods? The Super Bowl weekend is always, I think, a very fun time. And, of course, Super Bowl watch parties are a big tradition. Did you go to many Super Bowl watch parties growing up, or do you host them yourself?
No, we normally just kind of watched as a family, but, my parents would kind of make different appetizers and snacks and things.
Yeah. I mean, we often went to a family friend's house for their Super Bowl watch party, and they did a whole big thing each year, and that was a lot of fun. And it was a great setup because they had a few TVs on the ground floor of their house, and so you had the main TV in the main living room, then you had another TV like off in like this dining room area. And then, so you can kind of mill around and still not be missing any of the game. And obviously lots of food and all the rest of it. And so I always loved those parties, and I always loved the Super Bowl for that reason. Going to those parties was a big part of what got me into football in the first place, because it's like, well, you know what, I'm already at this thing. I may as well learn about what I'm actually watching.
Yeah.
And so I always have so much fun with Super Bowl parties, and I think it's always a really fun time. And actually, before we do this, just a quick question: do you have a favorite Super Bowl that you remember watching that really stands out to you?
Oh gosh. I'm not sure that I do, because most of my memories are usually of the halftime show, rather than the actual games themselves. Because again, like, I've never been that into football. I mean,
Sure.
I've only been into it for the past like 2 years, and that's just because of fantasy. So I don't think so. I don't think I have a favorite that really stands out.
Yeah, I actually do have a favorite. I would say for me, I think Super Bowl 52 is one of my favorites. It's hard because, I mean, there have been a lot of good ones that I've seen, but that's one that always stands out to me. That was the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl. Do you remember that? When the Eagles beat the Patriots to win their first Lombardi. That was a fantastic game. I mean, the Eagles, they were such underdogs. While the Patriots had Tom Brady in his prime, the Eagles were coming in with Nick Foles, who was bounced around as a backup before he landed in Philadelphia. And that was the game where we got the Philly special. And, I mean, there was just so many great lead changes. It was incredibly tense. And then, of course, to see that the Eagles were the only other team to be able to beat Tom Brady, other than my team, the Giants, in the Super Bowl. Even though it is a little bittersweet because, of course, the Eagles are a division rival. Don't love that. But that was a fantastic Super Bowl. And even I couldn't help but be happy for them. And so that's one that always stands out to me as being a really fun one. But yeah, so we have this tier list here, and I thought, well, let's talk a little bit about some of our favorite Super Bowl foods, and see if we can't do a little bit of a ranking here. So we start off with Italian antipasti. Now, is this something that makes an appearance at your Super Bowl parties? Because I haven't seen much of this.
I mean, so I've seen like charcuterie boards, which is just like the cheeses, not the full antipasti.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a strange choice for a Super Bowl party because, I mean, you look at what it is. So you've got like sliced cured meats, like sliced ham, and then like these little feta cheese balls, and then like some sun-dried tomatoes and stuff. And it's just like, it's just a very awkward thing to consume at a Super Bowl party.
Yeah, that's for like a fancy dinner party. That's not
it seems like you're trying way too much, especially like, in the same lineup as like hot dogs, mac and cheese, chili, burgers. It's like, where does this fit in?
Yeah.
I feel like this is just not something that really fits into the setting. So
I feel like that needs to be trash.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't really see a way around it. Burgers. Now, when it comes to burgers, I honestly, there haven't been many appearances of burgers in Super Bowl parties that I've been a part of. And I think a big part of why that is because a burger is such a standalone meal, like
Yes.
just like a
Yes.
burger and fries. There's
That's what I was
not
gonna say.
there's not a communal aspect
Because
to it.
like at a Super Bowl party, all of these foods are all like snackable.
Exactly.
Like you can get as many servings
And
or as few
shareable.
servings as you want. Burgers, yeah, it's just a standalone item. If it had sliders, I'd probably put that up pretty high.
Yeah.
But a burger, I'd say D tier.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, is that I think a great Super Bowl food should be shareable. It should be something that you make in a big tray, and it can feed 24 people, not just everyone eating their own thing. It should be a communal experience. And so, I mean, I love a good burger, but I just don't think it works for a Super Bowl party in that context. So, did you say D?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we'll put it in D. Chili. Now, I do like a good chili, but I don't know.
It doesn't really fit the vibe as well.
I think it does fit the vibe. I think, again, because you can make a big thing of chili, a big crock pot of chili, and have people just dipping into that. You can get a little cup of it. I think it does fit. I think it does meet that criteria.
Have you had chili at these Super Bowl watch parties, though?
I think I have had chili before. Yeah, I think I have. So yeah, I mean, I would say that it just, I think it's good. Not great, but good. I think it just has to be a good chili, because there's a lot of people that screw up chili. But I do like the idea of it, and I do think if it's executed well, it does have a place at a Super Bowl party. And so
I do like a good chili, I will say.
Yeah. So what do you think? Maybe B? You think?
Yeah, I'd say B is fair.
Okay, so here we go. The classic of classics, or one of the classic of classics, chips and salsa. It's not a Super Bowl party without tortilla chips and salsa / guacamole.
That's true, but also on this list is nachos.
That is
which
true.
I think is such a step above that it makes just chips and salsa feel kind of lazy almost,
Yeah.
Like chips and salsa to me is like the type of snack you eat before the party.
Sure. Yeah.
No,
yeah, I know exactly.
That's just my interpretation.
It's one of those things that it's one of the first, because it's so easy, because you just put some chips on a plate and you put some salsa out. It's the very first thing that you put on the table. And so while you're waiting for everybody to show up, you're just dipping in and out, grabbing a chip and some salsa. It's just because it's already there. There's no presentation to it beyond that. And so,
but it's easy and it's readily available. Does that make it high quality though? That's what I'm wondering.
Disclaimer: love tortilla chips, but I'm a chips and guac guy more than I'm a chips and salsa guy. I've never been that big into salsa, and so for me, that would be my only knock against this. Is I would agree that chips and salsa is an absolute Super Bowl mainstay, but for me, I go for the guac before I go for the salsa. So that's my only knock against it. So I don't know. What do you think? C? Is that middle ground? Is that what you're thinking, or B? Because it's
I think we could do B.
Iconic. Yeah. Okay. I think so, because it is so iconic. Hot dogs. Hot dogs are something that maybe I've seen in a Super Bowl party before. I can't remember, but
I think it's similar to the hamburger problem.
So yeah,
it is kind of.
Yeah, but I would say not quite to the same degree, because
no, you can just, not by any means.
Yeah, because you can just cook up a bunch of wieners and you could just have the buns out, and I think that it is just generally more socially acceptable to eat more than one hot dog than it is to eat more than one hamburger in a single sitting.
Yeah.
So.
But when I think of hot dogs, I think of like summer barbecues.
Yeah, much more of a baseball food.
Yeah, not football.
Yeah, and so I would say it's not bad, but it's not one of those things that I would readily reach for.
Probably C tier, because it's better than burgers, but not as good as.
I was thinking C, yeah. Okay, mac and cheese.
Easy, classic.
Yeah, I will say.
Oh, you can't have it though.
Well, that's the thing. Is so for many years I was locked out of the mac and cheese party, But recently, as dairy-free cheese has become much more readily available, I have discovered it, and I've actually learned how to make it myself, and I love it. And so now I see what all the fuss was about and what all the hype was about. And so, assuming that it's made with a dairy-free cheese, I love it. You know, it's fantastic. It's just the perfect gooey, indulgent, salty, savory treat. You know, and so. Yeah, so assuming that it's made with dairy-free cheese, then I would rank it very highly, honestly.
I would say A tier.
If not even S tier, honestly. I mean,
I could agree to S tier.
It's really, really good. So, and actually,
I will say, if you haven't had it yet, you need to try chili mac.
Oh yes, yeah. I think I have had a version of that, or I have done a version of that, but I haven't had it recently, so that's gonna be interesting.
And then also what I like to call cowboy mac and cheese, which is just mac and cheese with a little bit of barbecue sauce.
Ooh, that does sound nice.
Especially if you can throw some like chicken in there.
Absolutely.
Or like ham, but if it's just mac and cheese, add a little barbecue sauce. So good.
Now, what's your go-to mac and cheese tactic? Are you just out of the Kraft box guy, or do you like to make it, step by step?
I like to make it step by step because I feel like the Kraft out of the box legally should be classified as cheese.
That's fair.
I wonder like what it is, and I worry that like it's a mixture of like asbestos and anthrax dyed yellow. So
I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Who's to say? And plus, when you make it yourself, you can customize it a lot more, which also means using multiple types of cheeses. It doesn't have to be just American or just cheddar. You could do like cheddar, Colby Jack, throw some Swiss in there. Make it like this nice white yellow blend. You can make it as thick and creamy or as light as you want. You don't even have to use the elbow noodles if you want. I mean, they are classic, but no, I prefer to do handmade because it's still easy.
Yeah, and in fact, I actually just did a mac and cheese with ziti, I think is the name of the pasta.
Yep.
Which is
or penne,
more
yeah,
or penne is the same thing. So yeah, it's more tubular. Or rigatoni also is a good one. So yeah, I mean yeah, it is great to be able to customize and kind of make it your own thing, which I really love, because honestly, mac and cheese is just a great canvas on which you can paint whatever you want. Like you said, barbecue sauce, or you could do like a buffalo chicken mac and cheese, or you could do whatever you want, or chili mac.
As a kid, I remember doing just classic mac and cheese with like cubes of ham and peas.
I mean, honestly,
all mixed together in the same pot.
Honestly, it's a great way to get a child to eat vegetables, is hiding it in the mac and cheese. So.
Dipping it in cheese so it's no longer healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but it's fantastic. So, meatball sliders. And I feel we can interpret this just be sliders generally. It doesn't have to just be meatballs. It can be just any kind of slider.
Because I've never had just a meatball slider. That seems like not a real thing to me.
Yeah, I mean,
if anything, you would just do meatballs.
Yeah.
Or just do sliders.
Actually, yeah, just Super Bowl, just meatballs. In that sweet, sauce. So yeah, those are delightful. Swedish meatballs.
That would be A tier for me.
Yeah, Swedish meatballs are fantastic. So, but I love sliders. I will say, unlike a burger, a White Castle slider is a great thing at a Super Bowl party. Like, that's a fantastic.
Because you can just grab a bunch and like you can kind of mix and match and customize them.
Exactly, and you can do the same kind of thing where it's like you want to put some cheese on it, you can put some cheese on it, throw it in the microwave.
You want to dip it in the chili.
You want to dip it in the chili on it. Yeah, you want to put some nachos in there. You could do whatever you want, make it your own thing. And so
who gives a fuck? Like
exactly. So I would say that the slider is the only proper format for a burger in a Super Bowl party, and for that reason. I mean, yeah, and they're perfect, like little handheld things. You can get a bunch of them at once. I mean, A or S tier, I would say.
If it was, the problem is that the image itself says meatball sliders, which to me feels like almost C tier. But if it was just meatballs, that'd be A tier, and if it was just sliders, it would be S tier.
Right.
So it's just, do we want to interpret this as just sliders, or do we want to interpret it as sliders or meatballs? In which case, I would say A tier.
I'm gonna go with just sliders. That's how I'm interpreting.
Okay. Then let's I would do S tier, I think.
Okay. Or how about this? How about we compromise and we'll say A tier? Because we don't have anything in A tier yet.
That's fair.
Since we are burdened by this this not
Yeah.
that good looking image of the meatball sliders.
And I will say it is easy to mess up sliders too, because it's so easy to overcook them and just make them super well done.
Yeah.
Which is like the worst way to have a burger. So.
And honestly, you make a very good point too, because it is kind of the worst of both worlds. Like, I want just like just a regular like White Castle style slider, or I want Swedish meatballs.
Yeah,
I don't
but not this meatball in a bun.
Yeah,
so you hold
carbs.
it and then it's gonna like shoot out.
Exactly.
And hit your cousin in the face, and then you're like,
it's too much. Yeah. And so
And the bread gets soggy, and like it's.
Yeah. And so so just do one or the other, I would say. Monkey bread. Now, I must confess, for the same reason, the dairy allergy, I've never had monkey bread. So
I've also never had monkey bread.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, yeah, should we say F or trash? I mean, we don't know what's
trash it.
Yeah.
Just trash it.
Mozzarella sticks. You're gonna take the lead on this one because I have no frame of reference for this.
So mozzarella sticks are very delicious. It's literally just like deep fried cheese.
Yeah.
Like breaded and deep fried.
Yeah.
They're very delicious. Personally, I have a hard time envisioning them at a Super Bowl party.
Oh, really?
Yes, because to me they're like something you order at a restaurant or you get from like the snack bar at a pool.
Sure.
You know, I've never ever in my life ever seen someone like make these from scratch at home. And if you bought like frozen mozzarella sticks, then they're going to be bad. So I would probably put these C tier.
Okay.
With the hot dogs.
Fair enough.
And if you disagree, get in the comments.
Yeah, please do.
I'll tell you while you're wrong.
Exactly. I'll debate anybody who wants to come at me in the comments. But nachos. Now, I don't think I've ever had a proper nacho with even dairy-free cheese on it, but I would like to, and I can certainly imagine what that would be like. Actually, no, I have put dairy-free cheese on chips before, so yeah, I can imagine this. Nachos are good. I feel like it's another example of just a great Super Bowl finger food because it's just this big mound of tortilla chips and cheese and beans and sour cream and whatever else you want to put on it. You could just grab whatever you want.
When you think nachos, you think Super Bowl.
Exactly.
The two just kind of go hand in hand.
So
I feel like I would put nachos as S tier.
S tier, okay. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I won't object to that. Peanuts. Is this something that has appeared at a Super Bowl party with you? Because I don't think I've seen peanuts readily available at a Super Bowl party.
Not at a Super Bowl party, but I know as an appetizer, just serving nuts in general is common. You know, at my house, we like to have pistachio nuts, which are really good. Just snack on. But in terms of like quality or effort, it's very basic.
Yeah.
And peanuts specifically don't really scream football.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say that so as you know, but the good folks at home may not know, I also have a nut allergy. I'm allergic to all nuts. And peanuts are the tip of that spear. And so for that reason, I am violently opposed to peanuts being at the Super Bowl party. Unfortunately, I don't have one of the peanut allergies where you can't even be in the same room as them. It's just so long as I don't eat them, I'm okay. But it's not something that I have any interest in for that reason. I have no interest in it. I don't see much redeeming about it. It doesn't strike me as a Super Bowl thing, certainly. So
I would say either F tier or just trash it. Because nuts are like one of those things where if you were at a dinner party, there would be like little trays of nuts around. But
sure,
Super Bowl party.
If you and I were hosting a Super Bowl party and you said, hey, maybe we should get some peanuts out as like an appetizer, I would say no.
He would shoot me on the spot.
I'm vetoing it. There's just no way. I won't allow it. So, pigs in a blanket. Pigs in a blanket is fun. What do you think? I think
This is
that's a
this is
fun
the
thing.
one thing that my family has every year. So I'm
Mm.
very, very partial to pigs in the blanket.
Yeah, I have nothing against pigs in the blanket. They are a delightful appetizer. You know, you get a little Dijon mustard on the side, or get a little bit of spicy brown mustard on the side. You dip those, pop a few in, the party started. So, I feel like that's one of the lowest friction things to get when you first arrive to the Super
Yeah,
Bowl party. Is you grab a few pigs in a blanket, maybe you
they're
get
the,
it.
they're the thing that disappears the fastest. I
Oh,
feel like
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
because
Yeah.
there's just you never make enough. That's
Yeah,
just how it
I
is.
feel like, yeah, like at the Super Bowl party, you show up, you grab a couple pigs in a blanket, you get some chips, maybe some nachos, maybe you throw a potato skin in there, and then that's round one. And then round two, you upgrade into the meatier stuff, the
Yeah,
sliders, the wings, etc. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. A tier, you think?
I would say A tier because they don't really scream Super Bowl,
Hmm.
but they're really good.
Yeah. So next up, pizza. Now, pizza is a great Super Bowl food. Don't get me wrong, but here's what I'll say about pizza. I feel like pizza is the one thing that you would be just as likely to get any other Sunday watching football because it's so easy to get pizza. That I feel like by the time you're at the Super Bowl, you want those things that you can only get more readily at Super Bowl time, like
Yeah.
a good mac and cheese or a chili or wings. I feel like pizza is something that you've already been eating pizza the whole NFL season. That I feel like when the Super Bowl arrives, you kind of want it to break away and do something else.
And
And
also
so,
the quality can vary so much.
oh yeah,
This was like Pizza Hut, sure, that'd be great, but Domino's, you don't want to touch that.
exactly. Like is this like an actually nice pizza from a good place, like a good local place, or is this like Papa John's garbage? It's
Yeah.
like that matters a lot. So,
And for me, I know this isn't the case. Like it doesn't work this way to the extent that burgers does. But to me, pizza also still feels more like a meal than a snack. You know, like I wouldn't have a slice of pizza as a snack.
That's true. It's tough to combine that with the other things that you want to get. Because it does just it physically tends to take up most of your plate, if not all of it. And so,
if I looked to my right and I saw someone scooping a bunch of mac and cheese onto a slider, I'd be like, hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And if I look to my left and I see someone scooping mac and cheese onto a slice of pizza, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's not.
It would probably taste good.
Yeah.
But just like, it's just not the vibe, I guess.
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
true.
I mean, that's just me. But
I'll tell you exactly why that is. It's because it probably would taste amazing, but it's also a carb bomb. It's like like you could only eat like 2 mac and cheese pizza slices before you're done for the night.
Yeah.
Whereas I think another thing is that
that's part of it because the even a single slice of pizza comparatively is much bigger than any of these other items.
Well, it's true. Yeah, I mean, another joy of Super Bowl party is going back for multiple rounds. Multiple pushes to the buffet. And so I feel like if you go all in on pizza, you're going to be done very quickly. And then you won't be able to enjoy all the other bounty of stuff that's available. And so I feel like it can be delightful, but your joy will be short-lived, and the carbs will have the last laugh. So, I don't know. B tier? Is that fair?
I would probably say C.
Okay.
All right. Yeah,
I would say so. Pork rinds. I have very little experience with pork rinds. What do you think about pork rinds?
I have no experience with pork rinds. I've never had a pork rind before.
So since neither of us feel strongly about it, there you go.
Yeah.
Potato chips. Well, I mean, this is just like literally it's just a bowl of chips that's out. I mean, it's irresistible.
Again, it's kind of on par with chips and salsa, where it's like a very low effort thing. You just kind of make it there and it'll get eaten.
It's not even low effort. It's no effort. The potato chips are what you reach for while you're deciding what else you also want to eat right now. Like the potato chips are at the start of the buffet, right?
Potato chips are like, I have a plate that's full of food, and I know it's not going to be enough, and I'm still going to be hungry, but I don't have any more room. Let me just sprinkle some chips on top, and I can eat those first.
Exactly.
That's what potato chips are.
You grab some potato chips at the start of the buffet, so you'll have something to snack on as you're getting the other food that you actually want. It's just like it's a perfect little salty bite. There is nothing wrong with a potato chip. it is it's the lowest common denominator, but that's not an insult. That's a testament to just how universally accepted potato chips are. No one is in the history of anyone has ever been violently opposed to potato chips. Everybody reaches potato chips. Even the vegans reach potato chips. I mean, literally, like, what else is there here for vegans, really? But even the vegans can agree with a potato chip. So it's so basic, I don't think we can put it in S tier, but everyone can agree on potato chips.
Yeah.
So,
I would say I would make the argument for B tier just because. Actually, no, A tier.
okay.
Never mind, because it is such a staple. Like, even though it is no effort, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who hasn't eaten potato chips at a Super Bowl party.
I mean, even taking the Super Bowl out of it, I just feel like
just a party, yeah.
Like any party, I feel like if you don't have some sort of potato chip or some sort of option like that available, what are we doing here? Like, that's
potato chips are the thing when you're hungry but you don't want to make food.
Yeah.
And so you go to the cabinet, you go to the pantry for a snack.
Yeah.
And then nothing looks good, so you go back upstairs, and then a while later you're still hungry, so you lower your standards and then check again, and then you see the bag of potato chips.
Yeah.
And then you just eat the entire thing.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It's like
they're always there for you, just waiting.
Yeah.
They're never your first choice, but they're always a good choice.
What is the lowest barrier to entry between where I am now and getting some food in my face? Like, literally, that's what it is. What is the lowest possible barrier to entry there? So, yeah, pretzels. Okay. Well, pretzels are pretty common at Super Bowl parties.
Similar,
obviously,
but not as good as potato chips.
No, they're nowhere near as popular, but people will reach for some pretzels.
Yeah.
You'll have the pretzels there next to the potato chips, and you'll get a bunch of potato chips, and you'll think to yourself, well, you know what? Maybe I might want a pretzel bite in between every 7 potato chip bites. And so you get a few pretzels in there as well, just to mix it.
Or you get the wild card who will take a pretzel and put it between 2 potato chips.
Yes, that is also true, and make a salty, weightless snack sandwich, basically.
Yeah.
To it. So yeah, it's I feel like it's another thing where it's like I don't think it. Okay, well, I think there actually are. I think I actually have known people that just really don't like pretzels, but most people are fine with them. But no one is ever passionate about pretzels either.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever met anyone who's really passionate about, like, a pretzel kid? Have you ever known a pretzel kid? Because I've never really known a pretzel kid.
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe C tier, you think?
Yeah, I could do C tier.
Okay. Barbecue ribs. Okay, I think this is, maybe I'm off base here, but I feel like this is a really underrated Super Bowl food. I feel like ribs are a highlight. I feel like, so once again, in our hypothetical Super Bowl party, I feel like you walk in, you scope out what we've got. Obviously you've got your mainstays, you got the mac and cheese, you got the wings, you got the mozzarella sticks, you got all that. But I feel like when you're scoping it out, you lock onto the ribs as a highlight. You make a note to yourself, at some point tonight, not round 1, maybe not even round 2, but at round 3, I'm going to get a rib or 2. I'm going to get some ribs. I think that's something that you make a mental note in that moment. I got to get to that. So
and it's a shame because, everyone says that, and then a lot of people don't make it to that round 3.
Right.
So I feel like the ribs don't get eaten. But if they were just less intimidating,
it's true.
They'd get immediately consumed because they're so good.
Yeah, it feels like a commitment. I feel like,
Yeah, it does. Like, it's not. I mean, it's
not exactly.
Easily be shareable in the same way that all of these other foods are.
Yeah.
Except, maybe you have to cut it off the rack yourself.
Sure.
But like, ribs are great. I love
they
ribs.
Are great. Yeah. So
I love a good rack of ribs.
I would say this has got to be. I mean, I don't know. I feel like S tier. I mean, I
feel like an underrated S tier.
Yeah, I really do agree. I think it's fantastic. Sandwiches. Okay, well, that's obviously a pretty broad category.
Yeah.
But
I think I interpret this as the
sandwiches.
Jimmy John's catering.
Yeah.
Big platter of various sandwiches.
Yeah, either finger sandwiches like this or a big catered sub cut up into pieces, like a Jimmy John's type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're easy.
They are
classic.
easy. Yeah.
Low effort.
Yeah. I would
But they're
say
a little boring.
a little bit.
Like,
I mean,
just
yeah.
a little bit.
I would
Just
say
a teeny tiny bit.
I do really like a finger sandwich, or I do like a cut up sub. I think that is definitely something that I would say there's a minimum of a 50-50 chance I'm reaching for that at some point at the night.
Yes.
You know, it's not a guarantee, but there's a minimum 50-50 chance I am getting at least a little bit of a sub or a finger sandwich. My only argument against it is, once again, with the bread. You know, I feel like you do not want to tangle with a carb bomb on Super Bowl night. You know.
Oh, carb bomb.
Yeah, carbs.
When I said the pizza with the mac and cheese, I heard you say, yeah, that's a car bomb. And I was like,
No.
what the fuck does that mean?
No, not at all. No. A carb.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm an idiot, I guess.
No, not at all. No, carb bomb. I want to be very clear. That's what I'm saying. Where are we putting sandwiches?
Sandwiches, bread, carb bomb.
Yeah, carb bomb. Yeah.
Not as much as the pizza, though. Those little sandwiches are not as heavy as a slice of pizza.
No, they're definitely better on that front than pizza. So, I don't know.
Here's my interpretation of the sandwich. Because these are always like cold sandwiches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So for me, I walk in, I see all this stuff on display. To me, I'm thinking round one, you know, maybe I'll go for some chips or pretzels or whatever. And I'm going to get a finger sandwich.
Sure.
Because it's a snack. It is not going to be my dinner for the night. So that's how I kind of interact with them.
Sure.
Depending on the types of sandwiches there are, there's a good chance I'll have 2, maybe even 3 of them.
Sure.
Because I do enjoy them, but they're not the thing that I'm going to remember the most from the night.
That's true. And also, very important note is, speaking about the tactics of a Super Bowl party and what you're going to eat. If you're going to a big Super Bowl party, you know you're going to a big Super Bowl party, you probably aren't eating much earlier in the day, if at all. Honestly,
Yeah.
That's, I think, very important. Is do not eat a big breakfast if you're going to a big Super Bowl party. You know, make sure, eat light. I know the game doesn't start until 6:30, so you're probably not getting there until like 6:30. But eat light so that you can then go all in. Because again, this is the experience. This is what you want on Super Bowl Sunday. And so definitely do not fill up earlier in the day. Just hold out so that then you can have those multiple trips once you're there. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like B is kind of where I'm at.
I think B tier is fair.
Yeah.
They're average.
Yeah.
Like they're good.
Yeah.
They're not the best.
I would even argue that they are on average better than average than, as opposed to like, I would say that the average like finger sandwich or like sub that you get catered and cut up is better than the average pizza that you can get. Because there's a lot of great pizzas, there's also a lot of shit pizzas. And so I feel like on average, you're probably going to have a better winning percentage with the sandwiches than the pizza.
That's very true. That's a good point.
So yeah, I feel that that's a good place for it. Potato skins.
I've never had potato skins.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know that I've ever had a proper potato skin, to be honest with you. I like the idea of it a lot. I would like to have a version of this with the dairy-free cheese, and obviously no sour cream. But
here's what I'll say. Just looking at the picture, to me it feels like someone wanted to make nachos using potato chips.
Sure.
And then came up with the idea for potato skins.
The
thing is, we already have nachos and we already have potato chips.
That's true. That is true. So, yeah, I like the idea of it, but I can't speak from experience. So, F, trash? What do you think?
Well, I guess for the sake of fairness, probably just trash it since neither of us have had it before.
Okay. And of course, this is a pretty anticlimactic ending. Wings. I mean, obviously. I mean, where did you think wings were going to go?
There's no other choice.
Yeah, we know where wings are going to go.
That is like the number one Super Bowl food. When you imagine Super Bowl party, you imagine wings.
That is literally the very first thing you imagine. And so, here's kind of how I approach this, right? You show up at the Super Bowl party. It's a few minutes before the game starts. It's like 6:15. You're getting there, you know. You get inside. You say hello to everybody. You pretend like you remember everybody's names. You don't, but you pretend like you do.
Oh, it's so great to see you again.
Exactly. And then exactly. So you do that, and then you scope out. Step one, this is very important. Scope out where am I going to sit? You know, get my seat figured out. You know, am I going to sit in a proper chair? Am I going to sit on the couch with everybody? What am I going to do? What's the sitting arrangement going to be like? You sit politely there for a few minutes, acting like you're not absolutely ravenous. And then we approach 6:30. The game is starting. You know, we get the national anthem. We get all that. We get the coin toss. This is around when you're making that first trip. So you get in there, and this is where you scope it out. You kind of get a lay of the land. I'm looking at potato chips, obviously, because again, that's just so easy, no barrier to entry. You get some potato chips on there.
While you're thinking about the rest of what you're gonna have.
Exactly, yeah. And then a thinker sandwich pairs very well with that. So you get some chips on there, you get some sandwiches on there, and then maybe a few pretzels because you feel guilty about getting so many chips and no pretzels. And so you throw a few pretzels in there too. And then, or some nachos, honestly. You know, maybe instead of potato chips, you say, I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to go straight into nachos. But I think either way, if it's nachos, potato chips, or salsa, any one of them can pair decently with a sandwich. So you start there. And then you start to think to yourself, okay, well, this is where I'm going to start. And this is just the beginning. All right? You go through the better part of the first quarter. You know, we're getting to the end of the first quarter. And now you're thinking, okay, well, you know what? I ripped through those chips, those nachos, whatever. Ripped through that sandwich. Now it's time to get real. It's time to get serious. You know, I've been at this party now for a good 45 minutes. You know, it's time to dive in and, you know, to get into the main attractions here. All right. So you get into, you know, you leave just before the first quarter ends because you don't want to miss those commercials. You know, we love Super Bowl commercials. So it's like, you know, 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Let's get back up and let's get serious about this. Now, obviously, you're going for the wings because you haven't gotten the wings yet, but so you have to start on the wings because wings, they start here. This is not the last appearance of wings. You know, we're going to see wings again later on.
Yeah.
But this is where you start with the wings. Maybe also at this point, also I should mention sliders could also go in round 1 too.
Yes.
So you get your wings. If you have Swedish meatballs there, you get some Swedish meatballs too in round 2 because you don't want to start with Swedish meatballs because they are so sticky and so saucy. And this is where you're still kind of paranoid about messing up your clothes. And so you wait until round 2 to put the meatballs on there. But you get the wings on there, maybe some mac and cheese. All right, and then that'll tide you over for the better part of the second quarter. You know, we're approaching halftime now. Now, this is the really big one. Now you've gotten a decent lay of the land. You've already eaten a little bit. You know, I'd say at this point you're about 40 to 50% capacity of what you can do. And you know, you don't want so you get to the end of the first half, and we're in commercials before the halftime show. And it's like, you know, you don't want to miss the halftime show, but you don't really care if you miss the first few minutes of it. So you stay to watch the commercials, and then you get up around the start of, as we're approaching the start of the halftime show. And this is where you throw down the gauntlet. Either at this point or at the end of the halftime show, heading into the second half, this is where you go for your big items, your ribs, some more mac and cheese, you get a couple more wings in there. And then that's...
I will say, mac and cheese and chili are swappable.
Exactly, yeah. And so either or both. You know, put some chili on top of the mac and cheese.
I mean,
that's
again, you could do both.
Exactly. And that's really, and this is where, you're at the pinnacle. Now, in the second half, it's not going to be as intense as the first half. In the second half, you're winding down. Now you're like, okay, I've eaten about 80% of what I'm going to eat here tonight. And so if I am going to get anything else, what is the one or two things that I can't live without? I simply could not leave this party without saying that I got a little bit more of it. And this is like towards the end of the third quarter, before the start of the fourth quarter. The game is heating up. If it's a good game, it's heating up now. It's getting suspenseful, so you don't want to leave as much.
This is when you say, okay, I've sampled a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Now let me go back for my favorites.
Exactly. Now that I've gotten a wide lay of the land, what are my favorites that I can just kind of hang on to that as we get into the home stretch of the game? And for me, I think I'm going to go back once again to the mac and cheese, or the wings, or the ribs. Yep. Not all three, because again, that's just a repeat of round 3. But you again, you prioritize, or you do combinations. It's like, I've had all these flavors. Now what do I want to combine? So I feel like in that scenario, it really just comes down to what you're feeling for at that point. But those are the 4 phases that I feel like it happens at. Those are the 4 trips that you make, the 4 rounds that you do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I approach it. But is that how you approach it, or
that is
strategy?
Exactly how I approach it. I will just make a couple of comments, not necessarily additions. In round. So round 1 was like chips and sandwiches. That's like
light stuff.
Light snacking. Yeah. Round 2 is when you tried the meatballs.
Yes.
I would say you could do that or a couple pigs in a blanket.
Yeah.
So that's something you forgot to mention.
Yes, similar idea.
Yeah, so it's kind of an either or. Maybe you want to do a little bit of both. So like 1 meatball, 1 pigs in a blanket. And again, like the mac and cheese or the chili are kind of interchangeable. I feel like the ribs or the wings are pretty interchangeable. If you want to do both, you can.
Yeah. And I should say that.
And again, like the chips and the pretzels are interchangeable. A lot of these are just kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to what you prefer.
Exactly. And I feel like the wings and the ribs, those are like premium items. Like if you have those on your plate, that's
those are
what's
your dinner
going to be.
Items.
Exactly. And
those are your dinner items.
That's what you build around. So I feel like, it's not impossible to have ribs and wings on the same plate, but it has to be a big plate. And I feel like you want to have something that's, maneuverable, something that it doesn't have to be so cumbersome that you have to be constantly balancing it. You want to be something manageable. Again, the name of the game here is multiple trips. You're not trying to do it all at once, And I feel like a small plate works really well for that. You want to get a small plate so you're getting up multiple times to try multiple different things. Multiple
also
trips.
Walk off those calories between sittings, help you digest.
Exactly. So get yourself a small plate, because again, you want more trips with less stuff, not less trips with more stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say that's also kind of a part of how I approach the construction of it. But
what's funny though? I think Thanksgiving is actually opposite. We try to do less trips with more stuff.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Thanksgiving,
kind of funny.
Very different vibe. Yeah, very different vibe. Thanksgiving, I would say with Thanksgiving, there's really just 2. There's round 1 and there's round 2, if you can even bear round 2. If you're lucky,
and you haven't gone completely comatose, there's dessert.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have dessert at your Super Bowl parties? Because I feel like that's not really part of the experience.
Yeah, I would say
it's more like that salty, savory.
Exactly.
Foods.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it where it's like, you break some ice cream out, you break some like little cupcakes out. So it's not impossible. I have seen that. But yeah, the tricky thing about it is that everybody's probably pretty full. If you've done it right, you're pretty full by the end of the game. And so, the turnout for dessert is never what you want it to be. If you went out to the store and you bought a couple big tubs of ice cream for your party, you're going to have a lot of ice cream left over.
I think if you're going to do desserts, it has to be like the mini cupcakes.
Sure, yeah.
Or just like a tray of cookies.
Or even, and I honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but a fruit plate, honestly, because I mean, that's something that's light and sweet and it's guilt-free. I think that's the big thing. Like, you've had so much guilt-ridden food up until now. Something guilt-free would actually be appreciated.
I would actually, you could also put fruit out at the very beginning too, when you're doing, like, if you put out like fruit and some cheese, this is like getting into some fancy charcuterie territory, but if you did some like random assorted fruits,
I've seen that.
Cheeses, you could do the vegetable platter. It's like the celery, the carrots, and the ranch, along with like the chips and the pretzels.
Oh, definitely.
That's a good time to do it too.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I would say so. Only hazard about that is that almost nobody reaches for the fruit first, and so if you put the fruit out at the start of the party, by the end of the party, when people might actually want something that's kind of lighter and kind of healthier, then it's gonna get how you leave fruit out on the refrigerator, it gets a little soggy, it gets a little gross.
I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I always reach for the fruit first.
Oh, okay.
But I'm also just a fruit fiend.
Sure.
And I feel like my guess would have been that if people don't reach for fruit in the beginning, they're not going to reach for fruit at all.
That's fair. That's fair.
But
Yeah,
again, that's just me. That's my experience.
Yeah,
I'm very biased.
Yeah, so here's my psychology towards it, and I know we're going way further into this than we need to, but
It's what we do.
This is what we do.
We observe
and
we
what
converse.
You tune in for.
Yeah.
But this is my psychology towards it. As I said, you've eaten very light for most of the day, and so you're coming in hungry. You're coming in hot, and so when I'm in that state of mind and I show up at the party, one of the very last things I'm thinking about is I'm looking for the indulgence first. I'm reaching for the indulgence first because I've been waiting all day for this. It's the Super Bowl. I'm at this big party. Adrenaline's up. And, I'm hungry. I haven't really eaten much, if at all, today. And, I want that indulgence. I want that indulgence first. I want to soak up those Super Bowl vibes at first. And fruit doesn't do that for me. But by the end of the night, after I've eaten my nachos and my ribs and my mac and cheese, my wings and all the rest of it, and I'm already mostly full, that's where it's like, well, you know what? There is that element of guilt where it's like, I'm mostly full, but I could go for something that's healthy and kind of sweet. And that's when the fruit comes in handy. Because it's like, it's, hey, there's only one Super Bowl a year, so you can indulge.
Yeah.
But, it's the end of the night, you're packing up. You want something that doesn't have as much guilt associated with it as all those stuff that you've been eating. And so I feel like that's where that's where I will reach for the fruit, is at the end, where it's like, I want something that's largely guilt-free.
I actually want to retract my statement. I will sometimes reach for fruit first, but upon reflecting, I think I take a more I do this unconsciously, I think, but I think I take a more biological approach to it, in which I will eat fruit between rounds. So I'll have the chips and sandwich, and then I might have a piece of fruit, because sugar will naturally kind of expand the stomach.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
And so after each round, I might pop a couple of grapes.
Yeah.
Because it's a good palate cleanser. Fruit is very watery, so it's a little refreshing. Between all of that salt, which really dries out your mouth. So I think, probably between rounds 1 and 2, and then maybe between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I'll tend to have just a little bit of fruit, especially if it's grapes.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And so here is Observation Conversation's official guide to eating at your Super Bowl party. Step 1, start with the true step 1 is don't eat as little as possible before the party. That's step 1. Step 2, start with the snack foods. You want to start small so that you can get your
but don't over snack. This is such a big problem that I see all the time. Everyone does it. I've experienced this. It's a real problem. You want to have a little bit of the snack food, but you want to make sure you don't over snack.
Yes.
You're hungry, but there's more food to come, so you have to be patient.
Absolutely. Yes, very, very good point. This is a very important rule, do not fill up on chips. Do not fill up on pretzels. Do not fill up on...
It's very easy to do.
It's very easy.
When you're putting them on your plate, you're already hungry, so you're taking more than you need.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're conscious about that, you'll know not to take as much as you think you need.
Exactly. Be very cognizant of that.
Because you can always go back for more.
It's true. Exactly. Yes. It's very seductive at the start, but do not fall for the siren song of overdoing it on the chips or the pigs in the blanket or the pretzels. That's fine. Get some of that, but don't overdo it. That is a very, very good point. That's a very good note, Reid. So you start there, and then you do round 2. You build up to some of your main courses. You either get wings or ribs or mac and cheese, and then by round 3, that's the pinnacle. That's where you're finishing off doing your heavy stuff. I would say try to get your heavy stuff done by the end of the halftime show. Because the longer you wait into the second half of the game, the more you're going to realize how full you really are, and then the less you're going to be able to actually eat. So try to have round 3 done around the end of the halftime show, start of the third quarter.
Well, here's the other secret.
Yes.
Too, is that, if you're not done or if you wait too long to be done with round 3, you won't have time to digest and then realize you have room for round 4. It'll be too late. But if you finish by the end of the halftime or start of the third quarter, by like the end of the game, you realize, oh, I have like just a little bit more room left. I can go for round 4. I can get my favorites. I'm gonna get like another like 2 ribs and a little bit of the mac and cheese.
Exactly. And that's why you can do that in round 4 at some point in the fourth quarter, where then you can mix and match your favorite things that you know you like because you've already had them, and you can do combination. Like like you said, I can do a wing and a rib, or I can do chili on the nachos, or chili on the potato chips, or I could do chili on the mac and cheese.
That's fucking wild. Chili on potato chips. I bet that's good though.
I've seen it done.
I bet that's really good, but I've never heard of that.
Exactly, and so that's your last hurrah. So just do whatever the best combination that you have available to you, put that together, and that will be your last hurrah. And then, as far as dessert goes, I mean, hey, if you still have room for something like an ice cream or a cupcake or something, then Godspeed, more power to you. But then hey, maybe
optional. It's optional.
End the night with some fruit, because that's again, it's guilt-free, something sweet, It gives you kind of a nice, after a night of indulgence of food and alcohol, it gives you something. Hey, I did something nice for myself at the end of the day too. I had some fruit. I had some cantaloupe or some mango or whatever. So or some grapes even. I
had a single blueberry. I am the pinnacle of health.
I mean, honestly, you can just get some grapes on there.
It's the difference between having a heart attack on the drive home and not having a heart attack on the drive home.
There you go. And you want to live, don't you? So,
yeah. You want to live for next year's Super Bowl party where you can do it all again.
Exactly. And so that is our Observation Conversations official guide to navigating your Super Bowl party. That's everything you need to know. That's all of our wisdom splayed out for you there. So there it is. Well, happy football watching, everybody. And I think we should segue into the other thing we wanted to talk about this evening.
All right, so that is the end of our Super Bowl.
Part 1.
Yeah, part 1 of this off-season episode. But Observation Conversations guide to the 2024 Super Bowl.
Yes. Alrighty, well, with that, we will say goodbye for now, and we will see you in part 2 of this video.
Yeah.
Okay, take care, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.